where do you see rice-based farming systems in this region in the next 5 to 10 years? What are going to be the big challenges and changes?
If I were to anticipate some of the trajectories, I would guess that we're going to see perhaps a degree of dichotomy. We'll see more and more commercially oriented farmers and entrepreneurs entering the game. Might have strong linkages to the milling sector, so an industry. At the same time, for a long while, there'll still be a very significant smallholder, perhaps semi-subsistence base, whose interests are more about household rice self-sufficiency and livelihood is something you do somewhere else. So I think now how to service these two different sectors, if you like, in the rice industries will be something that we need to think through, and certainly there will be different research approaches to addressing the needs of these two different trajectories.
I sort of have a lucky insight into the marketing side of the Australian industry, for instance, and I see the opportunities for the Cambodias, the Laos, that are smaller rice producers in the Mekong region to really be specific and produce some high quality rice. I think that's going to be really important for their future. Yes, they've had their mainstay varieties and so on before, and feeding the local population, which is fine, but any excess, I think they really have to look at producing some really high quality rice targeted at specific markets, and I think that that's a message I would give policymakers if they can get that down to the ground level, something that they should probably take on board.
We've heard different voices throughout the 3 days that there's actually a lot of production already, and how can small countries like Laos and Cambodia compete with the rice powerhouses, Vietnam, Thailand to a degree, and even Indonesia and Myanmar further afield. So I think in terms of policy, the smaller countries really need to think about what exactly their policy in relation to production and export of rice is going to be, because our research can definitely help to increase productivity and yields, but I don't think that necessarily that the policy needs to be increasing overall production and going for export of a low value agricultural crop. I mean, let's be honest, I think things like adding value, processing, specialization, niche, boutique production, organic, whatever it is, that'll be really, really important in the future.
And most of them are just...
I think rice-based farming system will gradually have to be diminished, because these farmers are going to be more richer. I mean, their income will be richer, and they cannot stay in this fragmented and small-scale production anymore. But they have to get together in order to get a larger quantity of product and a higher quality, larger quantity that deliver on time for the big consumer. That means the supermarket chains and hotel and so on. So farming system is good as long as farmers are still poor and small. But when they are getting bigger, and they want to graduate from their poverty and become richer, then they have to get together in order to be able to cope with the globalization challenges.
We see different countries going off in their own directions with direct seeding, for instance, and building direct seeders. Maybe we need to try and combine some of the research that's already happened and some of the development of mechanisation that's already happened, and bring it together and try and produce one unit that's really efficiently produced in one country and then share it around, and those sort of things would be, I think, quite useful.
That recognition, I guess, that there is a need to really embrace diversification, I think has been one of the critical things that's come through. But how do we look at doing that? And probably, I guess, some of the issues surrounding that in terms of how do we make that sort of happen. And for me, some of the standout things were also related to in terms of adoption and how do we look at sort of scaling that.
Even for the marginal areas, gradually we have to start to think about food safety or high quality rice productions to target in the markets or export. And this is my because previously ED scientists and other scientists basically thought about how to improve food security problem or how to just increase rice yield or rice production, crop production as a whole. But nowadays we also have to consider the quality of the products.
Current policies are developed for current farming systems and current farmers. And from my perspective, what we really have to think intensely about is who are the farmers of the future, and identifying those farmer households that will remain in farming. And because we know that there will be a process of farm consolidation, there will be a drain into the urban areas, there will be migration flows out of the rice growing areas. So we have to brace for depopulation. We have to brace for different farm systems than what we were seeing today. And also looking at the different types of farmers and how they develop differently, you know.
And how they make decisions differently.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you know, the different types of farming households will have different trajectories. You will still have your subsistence farmers for a while. But at the same time, you'll have a lot of farmers moving out of agriculture, and you'll have sort of the commercial farmers, and that's probably a growing group as well. So we have to be more differentiated and target our research as well as our policy towards what we're expecting in the time frame you mentioned.